I'll go through the script and then we'll get going. So as a preliminary matter, this is to identify Steve Walker as the chair, support staff Joe, the rest of the committee. I'll do a roll call to confirm that all members and persons anticipated are present and can hear me, and equally we can hear them. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Pete.
Here.
Faith. Faith, you're muted. You can press the space bar or... You're still muted. Oh, that's good. Okay, now it's working. McSteve.
Affirmative.
What? Oh, and Joe Pacc, manager who runs the entire show, which we know about. So, in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel, and it's being conducted remotely. So the town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19, is currently following guidance from Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and the steps we can take to prevent the spread. In accordance with the government's order suspending certain provisions, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. You can find the order posted on the town website. So for this meeting, we're convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website, which also identifies how the public may join. Be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. So I will introduce people as necessary. Please mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, or we can just not speak. For any response, wait until the chair yields the floor. For items with public comment, the chair will afford public comment as follows. So having no public here, that's relatively moot. Each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So, having done the roll call and a quorum being present, we can move to the agenda. The public comments, if I may, I will put one in, which is in part an apology. I forgot to get back to Jeff in time and say we need to review and approve the presentation for the FinCom. So it says here, other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. And as this presentation is essentially based on all the numbers we've all been discussing and approving anyway, it's basically a presentation of them. I believe we're okay to do that. If anyone thinks not, please speak up and we'll end up having to do it by email. Hearing nothing, the minutes of the last meeting, Jeff is not able to be here, and Steve did a wonderful job last time, which is always a serious mistake. Never, ever do a wonderful job of doing minutes. Are you able to do them again, please,
I will
Steve?
do the minutes again.
Thank you very much, and please pass them to Jeff as soon as is practical so he can put them in the rest of the file and use them to go out. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting, on the minutes? I have one.
I have one. Jeff left himself off members present.
Okay, that's mine as well. Did you get that one, Steve?
Yep, that was mine.
Okay, so item number 2 and roll call needs to add Jeff. Does anyone have anything else, any other part of the minutes? Seeing and hearing nothing.
I make a motion to
Please.
approve the minutes as submitted.
As amended.
as amended.
I second.
Any further discussion? By roll call, all those in favor, Pete,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Faith,
Aye.
and me, aye. That's unanimous. Thank you all very much. We have on the agenda the review of the last meeting discussions. That was an item left over for when we had a meeting that wasn't properly called. So we had to review what we did at that meeting to put it back to being legal. So Joe, you're up.
Okay. I'll start with the financials and then we'll go into some activities. As far as the financials, there's nothing outstanding. We did renew our membership with Mass Access. So that was the only big thing. So with everything, all the expenses of this month, which were over $6,000, our new retained earnings or balance comes in at almost $760,000.
Can you give me an exact number, please?
Sure. $345.94.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's all I have for financial. As far as I'm missing. Oh, I didn't print it out. As far as the program analysis on how we're doing with our public channel 9's programming, we're somewhere around 26% local and 71% access share or downloads. But that's to be expected with what's going on.
Right.
So we're still adding programming. It's just not our own. Although we did add a number of PSAs. We added some scam PSAs that Sue Doherty directed me to, which were from the DA's office on phone scams, loan scams, pet scams, email scams, and a bunch of others. So
Mm.
that was important.
What a lovely world we live in.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking that.
yeah, there's always a scam.
Yeah.
As many of you are aware, we've been having Castus problems. And on February 9th, Steve Walker, myself, Dan Nadarowski, who is an IT person, and a representative from Castus ran some tests on Zoom meetings to make sure there was no problem, to try to fix anything that was going on. They made a change. We suspected that was the error and that it was behind us. Unfortunately, we did have a couple of meetings fail after that on February 9th and February 11th. Then they worked on it further, and just an excerpt from the emails that I got, that they were going to work on the 19th of February. They said they were going to work on finding out why the network speed for Castus was different than what our IT person was seeing for network speed. So they were going to work on that and troubleshoot that. Then on February 25th, I received an email from Castus saying what solved the problem, and it appears to be solved. I haven't had any dropped meetings since February 11th. They said the change was made to increase the IP input coming from Zoom. They changed the IP buffer size from 2 megabytes to 32 megabytes. So we think the problem is behind us. I haven't had any any problems with meetings.
Is that the same buffer we were talking about during the test that we ran?
No, different.
That's a different one. Oh, good.
Yes, yes. So that's behind us, I believe.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Last month, in February, on the 4th, there was a Greenleaf Botanicals hearing. And we were scheduled to broadcast it, but that failed because the Zoom account wasn't one of our Zoom accounts. So they didn't have the option to broadcast on their account. So we weren't able to do that. But there's the next hearing, we are scheduling it out of the town Zoom account. So we'll be covering that and airing it live, and it'll go up on YouTube the next day. I mentioned this already. A PSA that was done earlier in the month. No, I'm sorry, not earlier in the month, at the end of February, was Sue Doherty did a PSA on getting vaccinations. And it's since come down because it was timely. But Kayla recorded that. Basketball concluded. There is still streaming issues at the gym. I sent out a postmortem on basketball, if any of you had a chance to read it. It did not go well. We had major pixelation. We had some poor quality video. We tried everything from cameras to the encoder to the bit rates. We need to, basketball's over, but we need to fix these issues. So I'll be working on that. And we are planning on broadcasting spring football. Oh, yes.
On the basketball, that's still being advertised in the Looney Ledger.
Oh, I have to ask her to stop doing
Yeah,
that.
but last Friday it was in.
Oh, okay. Let me make a note of that. I mentioned the PSAs from the DA's office already. I received a request from the Boys and Girls Club. They are doing a fundraiser and they wanted to broadcast it live onto Facebook and to Channel 99. They were going to have a band and a whole event. So last Friday, Travis and I, Travis and I and Dan went to the Boys and Girls Club to see if there was any way we could broadcast it from that location, but their internet speed was dismal. So there was no way to do it. But we went to the studio and we figured that would work best. And then I got an email from the Boys and Girls Club that they're delaying the fundraiser until the summer. So it was, an interesting project if it went through.
I have a question.
Sure.
If we had had our mobile van, would that have made the difference?
Depends on the feature set we put in the van. If it has an ability to do live broadcast over some networks that we control, and there are a variety of ways of doing that, it would be more possible than having to rely on somebody's AOL account or whatever they're using.
Right.
Right.
I mean, because that's one of the things that, even though our studio is going to be, who knows when that's going to happen, we could still move forward with our mobile van.
We can
Just a
consider
thought.
it. My concern is because I would love to have that. I think it would give us more flexibility while the buildings are still under discussion.
Yes.
My concern is until we know what space we're getting and how much to put in there. We don't know how much money we get left over at the end of it. So it's very
Right.
difficult, but we could all think upon it and talk about it again to another meeting, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the Lunenburg Ledger called me, I believe Friday. They're doing an article, but they're really more concerned with Comcast and why Verizon isn't in town and that sort of
Mhm.
information, which I couldn't give them, so I directed them to the town IT department.
Hmm.
Actually, Tom Alonso might be good for that because he was the chair of the committee that put together the contract with Comcast.
Yeah, the cable
And
commission. That's right.
right, Cable Advisory Committee.
Yes.
And in there, it very clearly says that Verizon are welcome to come in. They just have to go through the process. So I don't know how you would like to put that together, but immediately after the contract was signed, we had 2 or 3 inquiries or comments that we had blocked Verizon out, and that was not the case.
Hmm.
Right. I will definitely direct him to Tom next when he calls back. He said he was calling back this week.
Okay, it's
So-
Cable Advisory Committee is, which is defunct.
Right.
So I'm vice president defunct.
About 3 weeks ago, I received a new town procurement manual, which I have yet to read and print out. So as soon as I have a chance to look at it, I'll disperse it to everyone electronically.
Thank you.
I thought you did send us something.
I
on it.
did, but it was updated.
Steve, you're
okay.
trying to say something, but you're muted.
No, I was just gonna say that we got a copy, but that's okay.
That's the older one, yep.
Okay.
There is a reopening task force meeting tomorrow with Heather and the department heads. I will be attending. It's sometime in the afternoon. They haven't determined, but it looks like we're going to start moving into town hall for meetings again, and hopefully our group will be able to meet live again soon too. It's been months since the hybrid Zoom configuration has been done at town hall, so I have absolutely no memory of how it works. So I will be going in and reviewing it and documenting it for the videographers.
So
Yeah.
you're expecting it'll still be hybrid, that some will be present and some will be zooming in.
I assume so.
Okay,
Okay.
good luck.
Well,
Thanks.
same with our meetings, right?
Well, our meetings aren't.
I'm having mobility issues. So I would want to continue meeting on Zoom for myself.
Well, we don't meet at town hall, so what we could do is bring you up on a PC,
Okay.
bring you up on a laptop to join in on the meeting.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I have a lot to discuss with the videographers this week, so we're going to have a videographer Zoom meeting. And I believe Steve Walker is going to get into this, but there's been a change in our indirect costs for FY21. And since we are not hiring a production technician anytime before FY22.
Why
So,
don't I address that briefly, because Joe and I met with Heather and Karen Brochu, and one of the things was confusing me certainly is they took almost 50,000, I think it's 48,000 or so, out of our account day one. And that was in case we managed to find a part-time person, and they wanted the most luxurious of our medical plans, which is I think like 28,000 or something like that, Joe. It's a big number.
yeah.
And Karen Brochu said that as we haven't got the person and we're not actually trying to get the person right at this point, it doesn't make much sense for us under our present situation. She could adjust that. So what she had done, don't know if it's retroactive or how it works, but she's reduced it from the 48,000 or so down to, I think, 17, was it, Joe? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's somewhere around 16,000. I sent the document out to everyone an hour or two
Oh, yeah.
ago. Yeah, it's down to $16,000. And so that basically that means that 31,000 is going back into our retained earnings.
Okay.
Now,
Which it would have done anyway, so because we didn't spend it.
right. And I spoke to Karen about this the other day. And she is going to execute that transfer in March, but it will not show up until the beginning of April.
Okay. It actually doesn't really change anything given that we haven't spent it. Peter, yes.
Why are we not searching for another employee?
Because we can't really use one sensibly, but we need to do that. I guess we're also tied up with not being able to do much of our own work, which is part of what he would be doing. But we should absolutely, but
He or she.
Yeah.
it.
Well, my sense is that Joe is given way too much of a load.
Yeah,
She has to do all the programming. 2 of the last 3 Talking Baseball shows, she had to rush to cover something else at the same time. We should have someone else to cover, be able to do Castus, do editing, so it's not all on her back. I just don't think that's fair at all.
no, I agree. I agree with you.
When we were down in Drake at there, 4.5 people, they have 3 channels there.
It's not so much I agree with 3 channels takes more people. I absolutely agree. The problem in part is our budget. We can't have too many people, but yes, we should certainly do. Do you want to resurrect trying to find someone, Joe? Because if you do, it's not going to happen till middle of the year anyway, probably.
Well, first of all, the amount of hours the person would need to do would be, I believe we had budgeted it for 20, a minimum of 20. It might have been 24. So
It was a part-time benefited position, whatever that meant.
right.
Mhm.
We certainly could start looking.
Okay, would
You
you
know,
do that?
especially at the colleges where there might be some communication majors who are getting ready to graduate and
Well, I actually have a couple of videographers that have some mad skills. So I would like them to be in the mix.
Yeah.
And also to take advantage of being a member of Mass Access, I would like to post something on there
yeah,
because it's a great networking tool.
yeah,
So yes, and I believe we're required through the town to advertise in the newspaper.
right.
I mean, we certainly
And
need
I would-
someone else. Excuse me. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead. Go ahead, Faith.
I was just going to say that I'm sure there are affirmative action requirements too. At least there would be if I were your town, if I were Lunenburg's human resources person, and they probably have a list of organizations that they recruit through.
Right, I'll have to look into the options. I'll speak with our, I'll make a note. I'll speak to our personnel, our
Yeah.
HR person.
Yeah, because when I worked for the city of Medford, we had certain requirements.
Joe, is there anyone on staff who's capable of being trained to run the Castus? Do the film?
I have one person. In fact, I don't know if you noticed on the documents I sent, the March calendar. I'm taking vacation. I'm going to Florida. Um,
Noticed that was in green. I'm not sure why.
greener pastures.
Yes.
And I'm gonna have to meet with the one person, Scott Finnegan is fairly well trained using the Castis, but it's not just using the Castis, it's my everyday stuff where I have to go into the different town Zoom accounts and take recordings from the meetings and download them, watch them. If they need editing, they need to go through editing, then they need to be converted, then they need to be uploaded. It's like I spend a lot of my time doing that kind of work. So
Is Scott able to do that?
I'm going to meet with him hopefully next week.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I just asked because Jason and I were thinking of doing the next Talking Baseball on April 1st, which is the opening day of the baseball season. And you will be in greener climes. And I didn't know if anyone else could film the show.
I'll check with Scott.
But April the 1st, you're not showing vacation here.
Oh, I guess my last day is the 31st on vacation. Did I put the 1st on there too?
No. No, it's yellow.
No, but you'll need 2 days of rest.
Well, believe me,
I
yeah,
would.
yeah. So basically that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
I have a question about the community news. Is Scott the person who did that?
No, that was Eric, and we need to somehow get that going again.
Is Eric you said had a lot of good skills, right?
Eric's got a lot of good skills, and our volunteer, Dan Seminator, also expressed a lot of interest in the production technician job.
Uh-huh.
He is a local professional video producer, extremely knowledgeable. You know, Eric is extremely knowledgeable, but we really need a Castis and TriCaster expert.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do need a lot of backup. I need to get some things off of my plate because what happens is programming suffers. Some things stay on too long. I just don't have the time to do it all. So
Okay.
and
Well,
my hours are I am hired for 5.5 hours a day. And I'm doing way more than that.
Yeah.
Definitely need another
Yeah.
person, for sure.
Well, do we need a motion or anything for the recruitment to start recruiting for
I think
another person?
we're already approved for it. We're just asking Joe to carry on.
Okay. All right.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Now, may I interrupt for a second? Do you want me to screen share your presentation?
Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay, why don't we try it and see how it works?
Hey,
Is that an editable version there? What happens if you go to the slide?
I'm trying to do slideshow, but
Okay, Yep.
my tools for Zoom are covering up slideshow.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we can work with this side. People have already got copies anyway.
Oh,
right?
there we go. There we go.
Oh.
Can you guys see?
Congratulations.
Yes.
Good job. Okay, does anyone have any comments to make on the first page? Hearing none, I already had a comment on the second page, which is fascinating because this page is essentially one I've been using for about 4 years.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner.
No, well, nobody noticed. I'm not picking on you, Faith. Nobody noticed. So the second
Yeah.
bullet point should end in the word income, not expenses.
I
Yeah.
can't see it.
We
That
good
just hit me this afternoon. when I-
No, good for you. Appreciate it. Anyone have anything else on number 2? Number 3 is essentially not very readable. Well, that's actually
Yeah,
quite
There it
readable.
is.
The only key thing on there, the new equipment line says 30,000, which is something that we changed at a previous meeting from 120. This was when we were advised there's not a snowball's chance in a hot oven of us getting our new space in the
Yeah.
next financial year. So
Right.
we're okay with this page. So really, unless somebody picks on something, which they're welcome to do. No, please do. The next page, actually, the information on here, Joe, you haven't got the February numbers from Comcast, right?
Right. I mean, it may be the check may be at town hall and they didn't post it yet
Okay.
because I guarantee you when I get the March numbers, it'll have a February posting for the,
Exactly. So what I would prefer to do, these are the numbers actually that were produced by Karen Brochu. My preference is twofold. One, if the February one comes in, if we learn it before the Finance Committee meeting, that I can include that in this as well to give us a more accurate number.
Mhm.
And right now, I don't have any numbers in this presentation to do with cable cutting or reduction in fees from Comcast. And one of the problems is we don't have the new cable subscriber numbers that we get through Mass Access. They've still not shown up, unless you've seen them, Joe, somewhere. I haven't.
no.
So we kind of, yeah.
I would like to, have the bottom line say expected annual income from Comcast.
Oh,
Because
well, I can put in FY22 if you like.
whatever
It changes by year.
makes it more,
Mhm. Yeah.
accurate.
Let me just add FY22 to it. You good with that?
Okay.
Anyone else want to have fun with numbers? Moving right along. Joe, moving right along.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the report.
So
Vacation places in Florida, right?
this is actually Karen Brochu's calculation of fringe and indirect costs. So it's one of the numbers that she adjusted. However, in the budget number, we still have to leave the number we had before, the 48, because we are looking to add that person. So are we okay with that? I'm not even sure this is necessary in the presentation, but I have a feeling we should just have it there in case it comes up.
What does EX salaries mean?
Excluding.
Excluding. Okay.
Steve, a question on the last page.
Yes,
I see at the bottom, we're still paying $6,000 rent a year.
we are.
Will we be paying rent in a new building?
I think that's an excellent question. Thank you.
Joe,
Yes.
instead of writing X salaries, you could do W/O, which is the abbreviation without.
Yeah, that would be better than EX, which usually means example.
Or it means excluding. Hang on, let me find my.
No, it doesn't really. It's usually for example. I think what Steve said is good with the
Most
without.
people understand W/O.
Yeah, they do.
Could be ex-wife.
Yeah.
Ex-boyfriend.
Yeah,
Ex-husband.
yeah.
Okay, people, settle down.
Lighten up.
One of those two. Do even both of them. What was, oh, you said W/O,
Yeah,
which actually stands for warrant officer, but we won't worry about that either. Okay. So we're okay with that fringe benefits thing. So on the summary budget, which is where we got to, we're okay with that. The important thing I wanted to ensure that I say at Finance Committee, total operations is less than expected income. Okay. That would actually, because it's budgetary, would include the additional person. Okay. So I tried to do a fund summary, which is getting confused. So what I used, the retained earnings at the end of FY20 is probably the best number we can put together. This is a number from Karen that actually represents our available funds starting on the 1st of July, the first day of the year in FY22. Okay, that's also the end of FY. No, that's what actually happened. So prorated operations in 21 were 106. So in there, I basically took our actuals, which were December. I doubled them because they were December, with some exceptions. So things like the rent was only in once, and things like the retained earnings was only in once. Not retained earnings, sorry, the other one, the fixed number that they take off us at the beginning of the year. So I put the expected income from FY21 in there. So the expected Pacc fund at the end of FY21 would be $840,088, not cents.
Would it be just a thought? Expected Pacc fund, what about expected Pacc retained earnings?
I can change it to that because then it relates. Whoops, change that one. Yep, that makes it clearer. I like that.
yes,
Okay. So that is trying to make a couple of points. The previous one was saying we don't spend more on a regular year than we have coming in. And secondly, we have this money that is retained and is being kept for new studio and any additional capital expenses, and maybe a mobile truck. So we'll get there. Okay.
yep,
Now the next slide, I can't put one in unless I get some more numbers from somewhere on cable cutting. What I would, if I get some in time, I would add them because they're not being made up, they're real numbers. What's more likely to happen is by the time I get the numbers, it'll be in time for the town meeting. So essentially I'll have them in my back pocket in case somebody stands up and asks a question on cable cutting. However, in parallel with that, the digital streaming legislation, which kind of died, the House and Senate got overwhelmed with a bunch of other things, is now being resurrected. The top two numbers are the House and Senate numbers, the bill numbers. It's state only. It's a fee on using rights of way for delivering streaming video services. And one of the issues going on is more and more using exactly the same cable, using exactly the same rights of way, is moving into the digital tier of the stream and therefore does not get included in part of the video services, which is the only part that our franchise fee is derived from. So the monies coming in from that will be dispersed based on population. 20% would go to the state general fund, 40% would go to municipalities, and 40% would go to community media. These have been imposed in other places, and it's to be understood this does not represent a tax. You go on to get the service, and it's part of the fees for the service. That does not make it a tax. Everybody okay with that?
I have a question for clarification.
Sure.
These fees are what the streaming services pay the state.
No, they would end up paying them to the state, and the state would disperse them. Yes.
Right, I understand that, but these are fees that like streaming services, like let's say Hulu, would pay for Comcast, or would pay.
No, Comcast would pay these fees for monies that I'm not quite sure how they structure this bit, but essentially for digital streaming in the data tier of their networks. So they would all be doing this, and that would go to the state. So the state would put a fee on that. I don't. Have you heard anything, Joe? I think it's something like 5%, but I'm not sure.
What I'm trying to understand is, a lot of people are dissatisfied with cable, and they're talking about going streaming.
Yep.
Through the internet.
That's exactly what this is for. The internet usually today is provided through your either telephone provider or your cable provider. That's what it's talking about. So when you move your video services over to that, we lose franchise fee revenue.
Exactly. That's what I'm concerned about.
That's what this is about.
Okay.
What this does is this puts a charge on that which is collected by the state.
Right, but they're only giving us 40%.
Right.
Whereas before we were getting the entire fee
Well,
from Comcast.
That 40% will be a hefty number
Okay.
because of so many people going to streaming services. It's going to make up, it should make up for the cord cutting.
Exactly. That's the intent, but nobody knows how to do the calculation yet.
Okay.
Till they put it all together. The other thing is what the state charges is a statewide number, and then it's prorated by population. So we are about 11,000 people, I think.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem to be based on subscribers, not as far as I can tell. Now, this is still in progress. So, and then when they've done that, so we get 11,000 people's worth out of the entire state of 7 million, whatever the number is. That gets paid to Lunenburg in this case. Sorry, the state collects that. Then 20% of it the state keeps. 40% would go to Lunenburg, prorated by our number of people, and 40% would go to community media, which I'm hoping is dealt with sensibly. But this is early days. It's just I want it in here because when people do ask questions about cable cutting, this is part of the answer that Mass Access is pursuing this very actively.
It just seems like we'll end up getting less than we're getting now.
Actually, all their best guesses are we'll be getting more. So, but we can't tell you that. That's what they're trying to do. As it moves to the digital tier, then who knows how they're going to manage the capacity needs of that digital tier? I don't. So, okay. What I would like, if possible, with the changes made, if someone would approve that this be presented to the Finance Committee next month.
So moved.
By Faith. Second. Did we? Oh, Steve seconded it. You taking notes, Steve? Good. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Steve, Faith,
Aye.
me, we're all in favor. The very last page, we also need to do this one. This is rewording of, well, apparently the format the proposed warrant needs to be in. I have every confidence Faith will ask me what the hell the semicolon's doing in there. Hopefully she'll tell me why, because I don't know. Anyway, I have to send in a proposed warrant, and the way they planning to do it, the words here, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to fund the FY22 PEG Access Enterprise operating and capital budgets. Then it has a semicolon, or take any other action there too. The note that when this goes in the book, in the warrant booklet that goes out, when it actually comes up at the town meeting, it's changed into a motion, and the motion will have the specific numbers for both operating and capital budgets. So unless anyone's going to deal with the semicolon, which I'm not going to, I need a motion that we send this warrant in for the annual town meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Steve. Second
Second.
by Peter. Any
I have
further
a question.
Please.
I thought that when we changed our way of doing things, that we didn't have to go through town meeting because we have our own enterprise fund. And that we're not asking the town to raise and appropriate or transfer funds. We have our own fund. I don't understand this warrant at all.
This, first off, we're advised that we do have to go through town meeting. When I first joined this committee many moons ago, we didn't go through town meeting for our budget. And at the very last minute, they threw us in there. Right now, that was one of the first things I had to do, is stand up and do that bit. And it wasn't properly on the agenda either, so it's one of the first items that came up. I would love you to be correct, Faith, but I'm sorry. I'm just going by what the town and the finance committee and the finance department tell us. And I think Heather did this right up front when she first came on board, to make sure that things like enterprise funds go through the town meeting. Now, the sewer department works on an enterprise fund as well.
I would just like to amend it to say to transfer from available funds. We're not asking the town to raise funds or appropriate their own funds. And I don't want this to go through town meeting and be misunderstood. We're just asking them to transfer the funds that are our funds from the enterprise.
Yeah,
I think we should make it as specific as it is, because I don't want people getting up at town meeting debating whether cable is a good thing to have or that they don't want their tax money going to this. I mean, it's always misunderstood, and it doesn't need to be if it were just worded correctly.
Well, first, this is only the warrant. The motion can be worded differently. And one thing I would love to find out is how to get the motion before it turns up on the screen at the town meeting.
Yes.
I believe this is a standard format. I think that's all that's going on.
Yeah, but we're not asking them. That's for other departments. Our department is not asking to raise and appropriate any funds. I think we should strike that out of there, because that's not what needs to happen. It's inaccurate.
May I have a comment, please?
Yeah.
I think Steve was entirely right that this is a standard way of writing a warrant. And it's, if you notice, it says the town will vote to raise and appropriate or
But we're not
transfer from.
asking them to do the first part. So I think we should just
It's,
scratch out the other part.
it's standard. It's absolutely standard.
Well, I would like you to check on that because I don't think it has to be. It may be standard for other departments, but it doesn't have to be for ours. Just ask.
I can ask.
What would
Thank you.
happen if they voted no?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the motion they vote on, not the warrant? If they vote no, we've got a problem. And those green boxes on the calendar become green boxes in every single square of the calendar.
Yeah. I just think
Yes, we'll
that
raise
things
it.
should be communicated. In the warrant, people may read the warrant and decide that they're against it, not understanding the way it works. Therefore, I think it should be in plain English. And since we're not a department that needs to raise or appropriate, I
understand
think
you,
it should be
Faith.
stricken.
Right, we've
Well,
already
we-
said we'll raise it. What I'll do is I'll email Heather and Karen. It was Karen that
Okay,
provided us.
and the
with this.
legal.
I'm not going
whoever's-
through legal at this point. We don't
Okay,
have time. This has got to be in a few days' time.
okay.
I think the word appropriate is appropriate. Maybe not raise, but we are at town meeting to appropriate our funds.
Right. Well, I'll raise Faith's issue with both Heather and Karen
And find the appropriate.
from the committee and see what they come back with.
Yeah,
At which point, because we have to get this sent in without another committee meeting,
yeah.
we had a motion, we had a second. Can we do what I think is called a friendly amendment saying subject to Heather and or Karen's approval to put the warrant in?
Yes, you can do that as long as I agree to it and
I do.
Peter, who seconded, agrees to it.
And
You-
I agree.
Do you agree, Steve?
Yes,
Peter?
Yes, I do.
In that case, Steve, that is the motion. Any further discussion? Failing, hearing nothing. All those in favor, Peter?
Aye.
Steve? You're muted, but raising your hand's good. I like that.
aye.
And Faith?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. The next meeting, I believe, is going to happen on,
April 5th.
April 5th.
okay, you're all right. Good. Oh, that's Easter Monday. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Just the bunny.
Oh, okay, so that's the next meeting. Anyone have anything that may be properly brought before this committee at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion that we all go and pour a glass of single. Oh no, that we end the meeting. So.
So
Motion
moved.
My motion, we adjourn.
seconded. All
Faith.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was really well done. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your help in putting all this.
Thank you for all
stuff
your
together.
work.
Yeah,
You and Joe.
Keeps me out of mischief.
Stay healthy, everyone.
You
Peter.
too.
Peter, I
Good
need
luck.
to know how you did that lighting. I mean, that's really very impressive.
I directed 40 plays at school, Steve. I learned everything about how to make everyone look good.
I used to do stage.
And I'll be over your house anytime because you look like you have a halo over your head.
I do. That's deliberate as well.
I thought so.
But